Rain, rain, rain on me, Lord. Rain, rain on me, Lord. Rain, 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 rain on me, Lord. Rain.
Welcome everybody. It's a beautiful Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
We're in the studio once again. Welcome back. This is the Sealed Podcast, ladies and gents. Yeah, man, we're happy to have you guys back here with us. We're happy to be having these discussions again.
Yeah.
And yeah, today we want to touch on grace, this mysterious subject of grace.
Yeah.
Firstly, welcome.
Thank you
Avina.
very much.
How you
Thank very
doing?
much. Doing
Feeling
easy.
good?
Very
Looking
well.
good?
Standard procedure.
Love it. Oh,
Yeah.
by the way, I decided because people have commented on
The
our
outfits.
outfits, right? I decided today I'm gonna bring some color into this podcast.
Yeah.
So-
we let D with
Yeah.
the indirectly matching, guys. We don't plan outfits.
No.
It just so happens.
No, yeah,
So,
but Fana has this thing of copying me, but that's a topic for another day.
Nah, it's good to have you, boy.
Yeah, man, good to
Yeah.
see you. Yeah, man, welcome, guys. Yeah, let's go. If you are new to this, subscribe, like already, because it's gonna be so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. What you gotta say?
Yeah, man. Grace. I think first of all, what do you understand by grace as a Christian and as someone that is saved, that has been journeying with Christ? How would you say? Let's just say I was a non-believer and I want to have a glimpse of this Christianity life of yours, you know, or this relationship you have with Christ.
I have an issue with the grace topic
Yeah.
because I feel like it's the most abused feature
Yeah.
of being a Christian, because even myself, I think I've abused it, knowing that the work of the cross is done, right? Jesus has already paid the price. I have unlimited amount of, it's like Wi-Fi. You know, you have uncapped.
But someone paid for that.
Someone paid for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've had such a battle with understanding and maybe even accepting grace that has been afforded for my life. But to answer your question, it's literally God saying, it doesn't matter what you do, I still love you.
Yeah.
That's how I understand grace at its simplest form, is that you're a sinner, doesn't matter, but I still love you.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I understand grace at its core. If I could simplify it for somebody that doesn't believe or is new to the journey. Yeah, and for you?
Yeah, good answer, man. For me, 2 words. Unmerited favor.
Yeah.
I think again, I liked what you said. It's something that is so abused, you know, and I think it's abused because it's misunderstood.
Okay, let's go. Okay, go deeper.
Let's dive in. And it's misunderstood because we do not understand, or to an extent respect who's the giver of this gift.
Yes.
The Apostle Paul in the book of Ephesians speaks about grace is a gift from God, you know, and to take it a lot deeper, grace is not just a gift that was given, but it is a person. It's a representation of who Jesus is and was and will forever be to us. And with that, it's not a license to sin, but it's a reflection for change, and it's a mirror for you to try again, but this time with Christ.
I get you.
Yeah.
I get you. And as you're speaking, man, you are touching on. I think a lot of people can relate to this. I was having a conversation with one of my friends, and she was sort of kind of like saying, "Man, I've let God down," you know, and she was almost kind of scared to go back into that space because she felt like I'm unclean. I'm not worthy of this. But that's what grace is, even though we're not worthy.
Exactly,
right?
or deserving of it.
Of God's attention, of God's forgiveness, or anything of that sort. So I get it. Yeah, man. I just have. It's been a battle in my life. You know what I mean? It's like a back and forth of like how much more grace can God give? It just also goes back to our actions versus what God says for your life. So like we can't be saved by our actions, but our actions is what can
lead us out of
the
kingdom.
So we can't be saved by our actions, but we're saved by grace.
And because of that, we cannot boast of the gift that we received. You know, because as much as we may think or feel like we're doing great, because you get those seasons in your life where you're doing absolutely amazing. It's all because of grace.
100%.
And even in the low seasons, that's when we realize that we need the grace. So when we're in our highs, we should not boast about it. But when we're in our lows, we should appreciate and understand that it's there for us. Ephesians 4:7 speaks about for we have received grace according to how Christ has apportioned it.
Okay.
So what that simply means to me is that Christ knows your shortcomings.
Yeah.
In the beginning, in the book of Exodus, it speaks about him being the Alpha and the Omega. That means he's the beginning to the end. So in other words, he knows the end from the beginning. So to take it deeper, our tomorrow is his past. So he already knows the timeline of your life, my life, you know, the viewers' lives. So with that being said, he has already apportioned the amount of grace that you will need throughout this journey.
Wow.
You know, in saying that though, it's not, I still emphasize, it's not licensed for us to screw up. You know, I think the deeper, the more intimate you understand grace, the proximity draws you to Christ, and you no longer do the things that you're convicted of. In our previous episode, we spoke about the conviction, you know, and as much as we need grace, showing the fruit of a recipient of grace means that you can also extend grace.
Yeah.
You know, I think we as young Christians, I said this as a joke earlier that we have a lot of judges in South Africa. Unfortunately, most of them, they are not qualified to be judges, and most of them use the spiritual cap, you know. But in saying that, is we need a lot more grace givers. Not grace givers per se. Christ is the giver of grace, but we need more vessels or more people that will channel that grace.
And you saying this takes me to when Jesus was teaching us how to pray. You know, forgive those who trespass against us, like, because we need forgiveness. You know what I mean? You cannot be somebody that needs forgiveness,
But you can't afford
but you can't grant it to somebody else. Yeah, man, it's not an easy thing, because I can speak to unforgiveness. You know what I mean? That it's something very, very, very powerful. Unforgiveness, like, because a grudge, you're holding something against somebody, you haven't given somebody grace, can stop you from doing a lot of things, or seeing things in a different light, or whatever the case may be. Some might say can stop you from getting blessings.
Yeah.
You
No,
know,
definitely.
I've heard
It's a hard and
pastors.
hard.
I've heard pastors delivering someone and saying, you need to forgive your mother, or you need to forgive
So and so.
so and so, and then that will release XYZ. It hasn't happened in my life before, but like I've heard it before. You know what I mean? And I've heard people even have testimonies of like saying, I had to forgive so and so, and all of a sudden, I was free. You know what I mean? I had peace of mind. Sometimes it's not blessings. It's materialistic things, but maybe you need just peace of mind. You know what I mean? Mental health. You know what I'm saying? So it's those type of things that, as much as we need grace, we need to be able to give grace. You know what I mean? And I don't know, man. I don't know who is struggling to forgive somebody out there you're holding a grudge or whatever. Pray to God, ask Mudimu for like, how can I deal with this? You know what I mean? How can I give this person grace? Because it needs wisdom. It needs the Holy Spirit on top of that. So I think that's a prayer point for Kopa Mudimu, and also affording yourself grace, like
Preach better.
giving yourself for a king. Like I
need it.
You're not living up to your own standards. You're not living up to standards that people have set for you. You failed in something. You are not living up to God's standards. Talk to yourself.
Yeah, that's that's I think at some point we all go through that.
Yeah.
Where you blame yourself and you feel like you're not worthy enough, forgetting that you're the same person that came up with that idea. Ridiculous, right? But in saying that it's so important to afford yourself grace, because we're not in control of our lives, guys.
Yeah.
As much as we may think your bank balance, it provides that security, the friends you have, like you say, the relationship you have, it draws you closer to Christ. That's absolutely amazing. But things can change in a split of a second.
Yeah. True.
From having it all to having nothing, or from having nothing to having it all. And that self-pity can make you feel not worthy enough, and it can even go as far as depression, because you suffer more internally, and people don't see that. It's conversations that you have with yourself.
And in some instances, people run further away from God instead of to God.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's deep, man. I read during the week. I read some quote that said, "When I wake up in the morning, is what I'm doing, am I running to it or am I running away from it?" That's deep, bro. Because I think each and every morning we have that couple of seconds that we ponder these thoughts in our minds, that yet another day. Is what I'm doing, am I running to it? Which is absolutely amazing. That's what we all long for. But if you're running away from it, do something about that.
Which is attached to fear most of the time.
Yeah.
Fear, and
discontent.
Do you understand? In most cases, if you're running to it, most cases it's not as bad as we seem. Sometimes going to someone to ask for forgiveness, or forgiving someone, or having that conversation, sometimes it's not as bad as we seem to, the scenarios as we make in our heads. You know what I mean? Sometimes running towards it, like you're saying, it's not as, it's just the fear element that I believe, because fear is not from God. Fear is from the enemy. So whenever we encounter fear to face these types of challenges where we need to afford someone grace, or even give yourself grace, or go for that thing that you wanted to do, is attached to fear. And that is something you need to sort of kind of like identify that this is not from God.
And I mean, two spirits can't operate in one body, so the spirit of fear and the spirit of faith can't simultaneously operate. One needs to give way for the other. So we try and always encourage that, be faith-like, always be positive, and in saying that, I'm a believer of, you can't be someone that specializes in self-diagnosing.
Okay.
You need someone to diagnose you. And as Christians, our cry is to Him. Lord Mudimu, Jehovah Wak, Jehovah Ramasi. We need you. I need you. And award me or afford me that grace so that I may see it the way you see it.
100%.
The beautiful thing about the relationship that we have with Christ or with God is that when God looks at us, He doesn't see us in our flaws. He sees Jesus, and that Jesus paid it all for us. And that's the atonement of grace by a representation of a son. So when God always looks at us, He sees Jesus, and then He sees the work Jesus put in, or the work of the cross.
It's amazing.
And we can't, when we self-diagnose ourselves, it's like we take Jesus back to the cross. So we do not start what Jesus has finished. The work on the cross is finished. So why do we start it when we self-diagnose?
That is crazy.
So
that's some mathematics. That's some spiritual mathematics.
So it's we need to take it to God, guys, because He's the one that gives us the gift of grace. And the closer we draw to Him, the more we understand who grace is in Jesus, and why we can't be the ones that condemn ourselves, but the ones that can turn back and be like, Lord, you've granted me this grace, so I grant it to myself. I can guarantee you the grace He grants you far outweighs yours. The grace you give yourself or award yourself doesn't come anywhere close to the one that is the giver of that grace.
What I'm really getting from this entire thing is that you can't, even if you offer yourself grace, you still need God in it.
Definitely.
You still need God. Even when you want to offer somebody else grace, you still need God in it. So at the end of the day, grace can't operate without the giver of it. He's gifted.
The manufacturer.
It's a gift, you know what I mean? And man, I actually love this conversation, and I wish it lands on people's hearts, the same way it's landing right now. Man, I just hope you guys get in touch with the Holy Spirit and ask Him to reveal what grace looks like for your unique situation. Reveal what grace looks like, giving it to somebody else that has hurt you, giving it to yourself. Man, so we can't save ourselves. We can't save ourselves.
Absolutely.
That's why God said, okay, I'm gonna give them grace. These people are gonna keep messing up. These people, you know what I mean?
Send them a savior.
I gotta give them something. So we will be putting Jesus back on that cross if we don't take that gift of grace. You know what I mean? What He's already done for us. So, man, I'm so encouraged with this, and I hope it lands too on your side. Give yourself grace, guys. And speak to God. And ask Him to show you what grace for your life looks like.
And maybe to end off, I think a very famous song that we learned growing up which I think even now is still very relevant. Amazing grace. We were once lost, but now we're found. We once could not see, but now we can see. And even in that, there's just so much we can touch into.
100%.
It's amazing because you're experiencing the amazing part of it. But anyway, it's...
Before we I know we're gonna close, but I just remembered something we said in the previous episode.
Yeah.
About our works, right? Can I work myself back to God's grace, Bafana? Can I work myself back? Because there's a conversation about whether or not there's once saved, always saved, and I'm saved by my constant fruits that I will bear each and every day. Or maybe that we can leave that to the next episode. I don't know. What can you say maybe like for now?
I think for now, I think...
Because you had a different approach. I said once saved, always saved. And you said that you need to still work at it. Where do you stand?
Work at it in a sense of still leaving God to be the one that is in control. By work at it, I don't mean you are the one that can pray twice as much because there's always someone praying more than you, or fast twice as much because there's someone else fasting more than you, and yet they still feel far from God. But working at it in the sense that leaving behind or dying to self, leaving behind the things that you used to do that did not contribute to you growing towards Christ.
Okay.
To quantify that's why the Apostle Paul speaks about to live is to die, to gain is to Christ. So what that simply means is you lay down your life, and that in itself is work.
Yeah.
Because if you're not actively laying down your life, you'll constantly be doing fleshly desires.
100%.
So in that regard, yes. But to answer your question, I think, can you work yourself towards grace?
Yeah.
No. Because we are not the ones responsible for the gift of grace.
I love that answer. But at the same time, I love what you said too.
Yeah.
That you need to be able to be aligned scripturally.
Yeah.
Die to self.
Yeah.
So and then it comes back again to the topic of once you're saved, you're always saved because once you're saved, you're convicted.
Yeah.
And maybe this is my personal view of this. If there are things that we continue to struggle with at a point where it's like part of our lifestyle, I don't know if we're saved. Y'all can't come at me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No,
I don't know.
I get what you mean.
I
I think to sum it up, though, we landing at the same point of reference that Christ is the one that gave us the grace, and Christ is the one that awards us salvation. And with that being said, it's we are here to encourage and invoke in us that while we're still here on earth, we can journey and enjoy the fruits of why we're being saved. Because you don't want to just have the title but not have the privilege of being saved.
Yeah.
So you want to have as much benefits and as much rewards attached to that decision that you made. And one of those, the biggest of those, is having a relationship with Christ.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we circle back to.
100%.
It's all about relationship with Christ. For example, I prefer praying late in the evening towards a new day.
Mm-hmm.
Tony can be like, nah, I prefer in the morning when I'm fresh to start the day. You know, not either one of us is wrong, but there's just a different way of doing things and yet still connecting to Christ.
I like that. Yeah, man. And we stand to be corrected on our views as well, because we are having a conversation, you know, as well, trying to also figure this God thing out and trying to figure like out what it means, what it all means, you know, because people interpret things also differently, you know what I mean? So we're trying to find what it really means, you know, and ultimately, like you're saying, we're gonna find out our paths or our preferences, all of us, you know, like, okay, this works for me,
Yeah.
and I really want us to touch one day on the different denominations. I think that would be an interesting topic, the different denominations of Christianity that we have, and mixing things in between culture and what we call our modern day Christianity, or whatever the case may be. That would be a great conversation to have. But thank you once again, guys, for coming through. I know that some of y'all have been hungry and waiting for us to drop again. We really appreciate you guys' support, and people have been reaching out saying, hey,
Dude, I got a DM from a lady in Nigeria.
wow,
Couldn't believe
Wow.
it. So the gospel is really just doing its thing, man. We just the vessels, we are the transport.
yeah, no, 100%. We
But
appreciate everybody.
shout out to each and everyone that's reaching out, that's commenting, that's spreading the episodes as well.
Yeah, appreciate it. And yeah, man, may the grace of God be with everybody.
And the love of
The Holy Spirit
fellowship.
now and forevermore, guys. This is Sealed Podcast.
Appreciate it, guys.
Rain on me.